Alon joining us on the line, or rather joining us from our studios in Cape Town. We do have Alon Lists, and he's the General Manager for Uber. Hello there, Alon. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. Uber has been in the headlines for quite some time, but perhaps this is a good time for you to tell us. Remind us what Uber does.
Hi to everyone in Joburg, and compliments of the season to you. So very quickly, Uber is a smartphone application that connects you to a private driver at the touch of a button. So it really makes it easy for people to get a safe and reliable ride, and at the same time it acts as lead generation software for drivers, enabling them to manage their own time and earn more income.
Alon, you're known as a disruptive business where you come into a space that suddenly has to deal with a new kind of competition. There's a problem with you in the city of Cape Town. They're not happy with the way you're operating. What's the problem?
So, as you say, we're disrupting an industry. It's a case of regulation lagging innovation. If you look at the current framework which governs national land transport in South Africa, it doesn't strictly cater for Uber-type technology, for e-hailing type technology. So it's a case where there's a bit of ambiguity, and people aren't really sure exactly how Uber partners should be treated from a licensing perspective.
Alon, there's been some controversy around Uber, and this has been with what they've been calling a surge pricing. One particular incident we have been reading about is over the New Year's season, where there was a particular client who was said to need to fork out quite a hefty amount of money for transportation. What was behind this, and the surge pricing? Was this just a festive season phenomenon?
No, so surge pricing is really, it is something which is fundamental to Uber. We say we'd rather give you the option to take a ride during periods of peak demand than leave you stranded. So what happens, purely driven by demand and supply dynamic, prices will increase. As prices increase, drivers are encouraged to get on the road, and as more drivers get on the road and supply frees up, prices start to decrease again. All that being said, if prices increase, you as a client are notified straight away through the application. You'll see in big numbers the multiple that prices have increased by, and if prices are more than 2 times higher, you actually have to physically type in 3 times as an example before accepting your trip. Also speaking specifically to New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve is one night when everyone really wants to get around at exactly the same time. So pre-New Year's Eve, we sent out messages to all clients across South Africa via email, notifying them that surge pricing would be in place, because we almost wanted to discourage people from using Uber and getting nasty surprises in the morning.
Of course, the market should operate. If people think your prices are too high at peak periods, well, then they don't have to use you, or they can find someone who undercuts you. What about the regulatory side? I mean, exactly. there are other people like Road Trip at Goodfellas who offer this service, but you sign up with them. So there's a whole process, and there's a kind of control area. How do we know that Uber drivers are reliable, trustworthy, not criminals? How do we know that the vehicles they use are reliable?
So that's an excellent question. I think the very important point here is that all drivers that we partner with have professional driver's permits. In order to qualify for that permit, you can't have a criminal history, you need to have a driver's license, and you need to be medically fit. In addition to that, Uber institutes additional criminal background checks, which plugs directly into the police's AFIS system. And I guess the scary thing about that is that we found that 15 to 20% of drivers with professional driver's permits are actually coming back with hits. So this allows us to do an additional level of screening to make sure that drivers with any type of criminal history don't get access to the platform. Over and above that, all vehicles have to be roadworthy, and there are other vehicle documentation requirements like insurance before someone can partner with us. One of the best things about Uber is that it's brought accountability into an industry that had none. When you book your trip, you see your driver's name appear in the application. You know what car he's driving and what his number plate is before you get in that vehicle. In addition to that, at the end of your trip, you can leave feedback. If you have a bad experience with the driver, we can deal with that really in real time and deactivate that driver's access from the system. And it goes both ways. If drivers are treated badly by clients, we can react to that. And in some cases, we've actually also banned clients from accessing the system.
Fair enough. Thanks to Alon, who is GM of Uber in Johannesburg, but talking to us this morning from Cape Town.